So I was sitting here watching the paint dry while waiting for news about Season 12 and PD2, and I remembered that I have a YouTube channel. So maybe I should make a video. Sounds like an idea. Just do that once in a while. Then I remembered that I painted my walls like 3 years ago. It should be dry about now, right? But yeah, let's get into the video. Ideas for character changes ahead of Season 12 of Project Diablo 2. It's not easy nowadays coming up with new changes for PD2. Every class is viable, many builds on each class is viable for multiple purposes, mapping, bossing, whatever. So I had to rattle my brain a bit to come up with something to talk about. But first up, we have the Amazon. This was my main character this season. I got to 99 and I killed all the bosses on T2. I think I got maybe 180 declone kills on her as well. No items, because Senpai hates me. That's what it is. I played for mapping, Lightning Fury, and I did Plague Zone for declone, and Jab for Lucian and Rathma. So I tried some different things, at least on the javelin side of things. I did some bows last season, so I didn't really want to do that again. But one of the big things that was changed this season was piercing from the passive tree, which was nerfed quite a bit. And I think it did create some difficulties this season. I know the idea from the devs was to have you kind of find some items that will make up for the difference. But there's not a lot of items in this game that has pierce on it. So many people, me included, used Threads of Cthon with 20 pierce, because that was the spot where you sacrifice the least to get some pierce. But even with 20 pierce from that, you need, I think it's 23 points to get to 100% pierce. Without threads, you need to get to 41 points to get 100% pierce, which is a bit steep. I don't think it was intended for you to stack passive skills on non-passive builds. So maybe they should do something about that. I don't think it's a big issue for the bosons. I didn't hear any complaints, at least. But for Javsons, I definitely think you need to do something about it. You can't get pierce on your offhand, so you're kind of limited to getting pierce on belts, either razor tail or with a slam, or you can get a slam on your amulet. But in most cases, you kind of sacrifice damage for it, either from IS, an IS slam on the belt, or like +1 skill, or CBF on the amulet. So what I would do is probably add some inherent pierce on javelins, or just on some of the uniques, maybe on T-strokes or Titans even though Titans is obviously a starter weapon, but it is very tough finding all that pierce through items. But I hope they look into it at least. Magic Arrow, I did that last season. I didn't do it this season, but it felt very bad last season, at least, compared to Cold, Fire, even Multison. It has so few arrows, so maybe add 1 or 2 arrows to that. I know people often talk about the range on it because it's a bit short, but just because you're short, you can still do some damage. And it will help if you kind of added 1 or 2 arrows to make the spread a bit more wide. Fend, They tried to do something about Fent this season with the IS breakpoints, but they had to revert it. So hopefully they'll look into it in the next season to kind of make that viable as well. Assassin. Did anybody here actually play Assassin? I think they did. As I recall, there was like in the poll before the season, there was like 35% of all players was starting Assassin. And it was definitely evident during the season. So many Assassins. I remember doing at least a couple of maps where it was me and 7 Assassins. Which I kind of get why, because it was kind of slept on before. It's not like it's that much stronger this season, because Assassin has always been strong. I did some Assassin play. I had a Kixen, because I really like Kixen. And I had a Blade Fury Assassin, just because I wanted to see what all the fuss was about, and it was so strong. And I didn't even really gear her up. I just used whatever I had lying around at the time, and it just melted everything. So I definitely think they need to look into Blade Fury a bit. It is so goddamn strong. And at the same time, you have Blade Sentinel, which is definitely the best bosser, I would say. Seemed like there was more boss kills on Blade Sentinel than every other build combined. So they probably need to down-tune those 2 skills a bit. The itemization for them was also it was a very deep pool you could draw from. So we saw a lot of Reaper's Toe builds early on, at least, and even late on. It seemed like Reaper's Toe was able to just destroy everything on the mapping side, at least. The second thing I want to point out is the new item they made, Whispering Mirage, which was a great idea. I just think it was a bit overtuned, because it's not only Mind Blast that really benefited from it. You could use that on Blade Fury as well. And it was just those extra Shadow Warriors would just wreck everything for you. I was in a map with a guy at some point who said without him even using his own skill, his minions there was doing 180k DPS, which is just mad. So probably down tune that a bit. Maybe make it more specific to Mind Blast probably. Which it seemed like it was meant to, but like the fist pierce on there is just so strong, and the fact that you get an extra warrior for nothing really made it a great choice for all builds except for Kixen maybe, but like all the elemental MA assassins out there also very much benefited from that item. It was so strong. For Claws of Thunder, Blades of Ice, Phoenix Strike, what have you. I'd love to see them change that, remove that from the item and probably put it on the skill instead, and have it like all the other summoning skills that benefit from dumping points into it. The Barbarian. I did some Barbarian play. I did some Berserk for bossing. Mainly did Rathma. I guess I did a bit of Lucian as well. And it's very good build. And in general, I would say Barb is in a very good place. And this was probably the one I had the hardest time finding some ideas for. But one thing about a Barbarian is the from the passive tree you have natural resistance, which usually means that if you put 1 point into that, you don't really have to care about resistances at all, which is a bit much for a 1 point wonder. So probably down-tune that a bit and make Barbarians actually have to stack some resistance on gear or charms or what have you. The second point I have is about Howl, which is a skill that's not really used anymore. I don't think. I've never seen anybody doing Pit Circ in PD2 which I'm glad they don't do, because it's annoying to watch. So maybe do something with that skill. And my idea was to put some open wounds on it, either some open wounds chance or damage or what have you, and kind of make it a second singer build, like a open wounds singer build. I don't know, it's an idea. Let's move on to the Druid. I did a lot of Druid play as well. My Druid got to 98. I didn't want to go 99 because I already had 199 and I don't want to commit to that grind too often, especially not while playing solo. But I got to 98 and I did all the T2 bosses on Mole, and we'll get into Mole later. But for mapping I did a Fire Druid. It was very fun, still very, very strong build. There is one skill, however, Firestorm, that's not really used anymore, which is sad. I would like to see that be used as well. Maybe make it make some kind of other build with it. I know Fissure build, you obviously put points into it, but Fissure is not really comparable to Armageddon Volcano. So my idea was to put some Fire Pierce on Firestorm, so it kind of acted like Inferno on the Sorceress, and you do either Fissure or Volcano, and you just throw some Firestorms in there to add some Fire Pierce. It's an idea. The vines, in here I'm talking about the two passive vines that give you mana and life. I would very much like to see them not be targetable, just because it's so annoying, especially on a fire or wind build where you put 1 point into them and they did die. Obviously mostly for bosses in maps. It would just be nice if they're not targetable, because it's already so many goddamn buttons on those builds, especially if you have like all the summons as well. I think my Fire Druid, I had 1 point in every thing in the summon tree at least, and dumped Oak Sage, and I had obviously Gust and 1 point into Hurricane, and maxed all the fire skills, and it's just so many buttons. And every time I had to resummon the vines, I was like, oh, what button is that? But yeah, make them untargetable. Revert that change they made a few seasons ago. That would be nice. Obviously, the Poison Creeper needs to be targetable because it's an offensive skill. So just keep that as something you can kill. And now we get to the last point, which is the most pressing point, I would say, about Druid. The difference between doing Maul and Fury is just so big. The damage is obviously higher on Maul, and that's maybe fine. I don't know. I would probably like to see them be closer to each other, but the big difference is that you have to put 20 points into Feral Rage on the Druid. You don't have to put 20 extra points into Maul. You just put 1 point into Hunger. That's in most cases all right. So maybe make that a synergy as well for Maul. So it's a 80 point build like Fury. The Necromancer is my least played class this season. Most seasons, let's be honest. It's not my favorite class, but I played a bit with my boner and did some farting. And it's a very strong build, both of them actually. And the points I have here, P-Nova, P-Strike, Fire Golem, just nerf them. Too strong. The Paladin, I did some. Well, I had two Paladins actually. I had a Charger doing some bosses, Rathma and Lucian specifically, which is still by far one of the best bosses in the game, and that's fine. But there is just one build in the combat tree that's not viable, I would say. Seal. I'd like to see them do something about Seal. And I think probably the best way to do that is with some itemization, because you get a lot of damage actually from Seal and from your accompanying aura, whether it's Might or Conk or Fanet. You get a lot of damage, but the weapons are just not good enough. So probably do something with those. And I would say do something with the scepters, because the scepters are very underwhelming, all of them. The only really good scepter in my mind is Astrian's. And it's not good for Seal, at least. It's good for Smite on a Paladin, and it's good for kicking on an Assassin. So probably do something with those. Maybe make a new unique that's targeted towards Seal, or just kind of fiddle with the others that are already there. And then we have the defensive tree. Oh my. This is definitely the worst skill tree in the game. It's not really useful in many cases. You can't do any builds really from them. I guess you can do something with Salvation, but not really. So on all builds I ever do on Paladins, and I really like Paladin, I play a lot of Paladin, but all of them I only use that tree for synergies, and sometimes you put points into the resist lightning, fire and cold if you need something for bossing, or if you have surplus skills. And that is pretty much what they've tried to do as well. With the tree they put some passive on there. You get PLR and curse reduction from cleansing, you get faster run walk from Bigger, but it's not really viable, because most of the Paladin builds require so many skill points. Many builds you don't ever really get to max out your damage, because it just takes so many skill points, because you have to max your aura and you have to max your skill, and yeah, it's not really a lot of points left over. So fiddle around with it, make us put some points in there. So yeah, that's about it. So I hope you liked this video, and if you do, give it a thumbs up, and maybe subscribe to my channel if you want to see another video. Maybe I'll do one, I don't know. And if you agree or disagree, or if you have some other changes you would like to see be made, put it in the comments down below and I'll have a look. And otherwise, I hope you have a great day. Oh, wait. There is one more character, right? Oh, yeah. So, this particular character is very controversial, it seems. Like every season, you see that particular community, like the people that main this class, they seem to be very sensitive about it. So maybe it's not smart if I talk too much about it, because I don't want those guys coming after me. So yeah, maybe we'll just leave it there. See you guys.